You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Let's stay across the Tasman. Our Australian correspondent out of codesports.com.au, Adam Peacock, standing by. How are you, mate?
Yeah, a little scratchy. Scratchy morning at the very least. Had a couple last night, but it's fun at the moment because your whole life revolves around the cricket, which is actually basically on when the possums are awake. So it's an interesting lifestyle at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd be forgiven for having a couple of drinks watching day 2 of the Ashes' third test. Aussie 116 for 4 in their second innings at stumps. That's a lead of 142. England bowled out for 237. Pat Cummins 6 for 91. How is Pat Cummins regarded in Australia?
Like as a bowler, as a cricketer, right up there as our best, I'd say, at the moment, up there with Steve Smith. But as a captain, I think he's still learning his trade because the bowling was fantastic and he gets a sixer, but just the way that the wheels wobbled again when Ben Stokes got going towards the end, and a lead of 100 became a lead of 40, I think it was, in the end by the time Stokes was finished. And looking at how it's placed now, it could be match defining. So yeah, his captaincy, everyone backed him with his decision last week to not call back Johnny Bairstow in that rather controversial moment on day 5 of the Lord's Test. But he is very well liked as a cricketer, and as a captain, he's gaining that respect. But I think the ultimate respect comes when he actually wins the Ashes over there. So we'll wait and see.
That might only take another couple of days, to be fair. But just drilling down into a couple of players. David Warner, a second failure in this test. His scores in this series, 936, 66, 25, 4 and 1, 141 runs at about 23. Any danger he doesn't get picked for the 4th test?
No, I don't think so. I think that they're happy with him and his output so far until this test, and it's just quicker conditions. It's a really quick pitch at Headingley, and the ball is doing a little bit as well. So I think that's where Warner has been targeted by Stuart Broad. Stuart Broad's got him both times again. So he's struggling. Marnus Labuschagne's actually struggling a bit. He scratched his way again to give himself a start last night, and like a lot was happening through the slips cordon, but then he gets out to a shot he just should not have hit, should not have played, and he knows that he got caught in the deep off a spinner. So they're the two struggling a little bit from an Australian perspective with the bat, and it, like you mentioned the figures there before, it is so delicately poised. So again, we go to another day's cricket where the first session means absolutely everything. I think that's happened in just about every first session so far this series. Yeah,
it's been compelling viewing. Even with us over here, we've got no horse in this race, but we're just absolutely loving it. When day 3 sort of is reaching its conclusion, Australia will just be kicking off their Rugby Championship campaign against South Africa in Pretoria tomorrow morning. Start of a World Cup year. It's a truncated Rugby Championship. How would you sort of describe how Australian rugby fans are feeling in World Cup year?
I wouldn't say this feels like a free hit because Eddie's just taken over, and obviously he's got grand designs with Lions tours and a home World Cup in 4 years' time. But it is a case of, we'd like to do really well, but if we don't do well, we know why. You know what I mean? So that for Eddie, I think is pretty comforting. Even though, knowing Eddie Jones, he wouldn't give a toss about that. He wants to win every game of rugby his team plays in. So I think we're going to see a different style of Wallabies, maybe a bit more stars tried to be added through the forward pack. So, I mean, you get the ultimate test there in the high veld. Even though you were telling me upon just before we went on, I didn't know this, that South Africa have actually sent a few of their players over to get acclimatised in New Zealand, which kind of cuts at the whole fabric of the competition, I would have thought. That doesn't sit well with me because that feels like sports science is leading the way rather than the actual rugby, the actual reason that you play. So anyway, good on them. It's a World Cup year. They can do what they want, and hopefully we can get one over to the Springboks.
Good stuff. And the other big sporting event coming up now, only a couple of weeks away, in fact less than that, is the Football World Cup, co-hosted, of course, by yourselves and us. The Australian squad has been announced. Over this side of the ditch, it's quite pessimistic in terms of the outlook of even getting out of the group. But what about for Australia? The Republic of Ireland, Nigeria and Canada in the group. They should negotiate their way out of that. But what are your levels of optimism about how deep they could go?
Yeah, everyone over here doesn't really not everyone, but it's going to be an event that captures the whole nation. Everyone knows Sam Kerr. Sam Kerr, incidentally, is probably the most famous sports person in Australia right now. So everyone knows who Sam Kerr is because she scores goals and she backflips after she scores them. So you kind of draw a bit of attention to yourself when you do that. So everyone's like, oh, we've got Sam Kerr. Can we win the thing? It's like, well, the answer is yes, but, and then you go through the reasons, there's a lot has to go right. They absolutely have to click. And a few things in my regard, because these top 10 teams in the women's game, it is so tight. It's a bit like the men's. Once you get to the quarterfinals, it's like just put a blindfold on and throw a dart at a board and see who wins type thing. In terms of that's how much there's nothing between the sides. So yeah, we can win. I think with the Kiwis, they've got the best possible group to get out of the group. Looking at your one, Switzerland's not exactly a European powerhouse. The Philippines at their first ever World Cup under Alan Sturgis, the former Matildas coach, and Norway, who are good, but they've not been very good at World Cups. So, yeah, hopefully the Kiwis can get a result, and it'll be great for Kiwi women's football. And the Australian women can barnstorm their way through to a semi-final or a final.
Yeah, absolutely right. All right, well, I hope you get through the day all right. Could I suggest maybe some fresh air? You could get out for some golf or something.
Yeah, what a guess. It's a Saturday finally. Just an amazing thought that you've come up with. So, yeah, there'll be a few coffees thrown in as well, I dare say.
I bet. Hey, great to chat as always, mate. We'll do it again next Saturday.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks, Adam. Adam Peacock, codesports.com.au is where you can read him and hear him every Saturday afternoon here on News Talk ZB around 1:45.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.